On to Chapter 10 now. Let's talk about Olympic sport. Very good timing of this actually, since the Olympics were just postponed in Tokyo. I'm going to post a discussion, an article to discuss to do that in more detail. So an overview of the Olympics. It's the most significant worldwide sporting competition. I think you're aware of that. For athletes, Olympic gold medals mean recognition, fame, financial success, and more. Did you know the medals are taxable in some countries? They have to sign a bill every time we have an Olympics here to allow the athletes to bring them back. But a medal is worth, a gold medal, last I heard, was worth about $10,000. It's a media extravaganza. It's a cultural festival with a political stage. That's kind of what the opening and closing ceremonies have been about, that they represent the culture of the home country. We've talked before about the economic impact of it. It is a colossus because you have all these people in town for such a certain, small period of time, and everybody strives for excellence. So they originated in Greece in ancient times from 776 BCE until they were abolished by the Roman Emperor in 393 CE. Events included chariot racing, boxing, wrestling, foot races, discus throwing, pentathlon, and archery. It was, however, restricted to men only, both the competitors and the spectators, so women couldn't come watch. The modern Olympic Games, Baron Pierre de Coubertin, launched the modern Olympic Games in 1896. They were reborn in Athens, Greece, where they originated from originally. And there was 241 athletes, again all men, representing 13 nations and 9 sports. Today the games have grown in size. Could you imagine only 9 sports? That'd be crazy, as well as complexity. So what do you think? Do you think it was important to reestablish the Olympic Games? Are the Olympics still relevant today, more than 100 years later? Why or why not? I would agree that it was important to reestablish them, and they are still relevant because that's considered the pinnacle for an athlete, is to be an Olympic gold medalist. So from a policy standpoint, governing the Olympic Games, there's various different agencies. We have the IOC, which is the International Olympic Committee. They're the people in charge of the games, awarding the games. Well, we'll talk about them in more detail in a minute, so I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. There's the National Olympic Committee, so like we have the USOC. That would be an example of a National Olympic Committee, the United States Olympic Committee. And the organizing committee for the Olympic Games, OCOG. So the IOC, their mission is to serve the Olympic movement, organize and govern policy relative to the staging of the games, promote the development of those physical and moral qualities that are the basis of the games, create international goodwill. Their membership is composed of, there's been a lot of changes since the corruption allegations in 2002. I think we talked too about the head of the USOC being kicked out for Salt Lake for lying about her resume. So it just goes to show you never lie. The financials are revenues from ownerships of rights to the games, licensing, sponsorship, and the host city bid process. We've talked about the bids before and how detailed they are. Organizational structure, they have a session, an executive board, and the office of the president. The NOCs control operations and policy for a particular country and its delegation. They certify athletes for competition, check participants' eligibility. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie, but there's a movie called Eddie the Eagle, about how this guy really wanted to be in the Olympics his whole life, and that was his goal. He was not a great athlete by any means, so he decided to do ski jumps from England. They don't have a whole lot of ski jumps in England, which is why they don't have any athletes in that category. So he was able to go to the Olympics because he was the best one in the country, because there weren't any others really to compare with. So they changed the rules after that. My point is they changed the rules after that because some people in England thought he was an embarrassment. I think he was just somebody who was really determined and achieved his goal. The U.S. Olympic Committee in 2003, the organization faced allegations of codes of ethics violations, which led to changes in practice mandate and expectations. Their mission is to connect to Olympic themes outlined by the IOC. They have their membership of 39 member organizations in 5 other categories. Their financials, where does the money come from? They're a nonprofit organization, but funding comes to the rights to the Olympic symbol. So it's it's like a merchandise thing, product sales, corporate partnerships, and advertising. The fund generates just under $9 million annually. So who's the membership? Well, it could be Olympic sport organizations, Pan American sport organizations, community-based multi-sport organizations, educational-based multi-sport organizations, the armed forces, and affiliated sport organizations. So the OCOGs, for example, they have the 2020 Organizing Committee, which is now the 2021 most likely. Their mission is to be the best, to host the best, to show the world the best Olympic Games ever. What do you think of that for a mission? They have paid staff. They also have volunteers. A lot of money goes into hosting, raised through the government grants, funding, TV rights, corporate sponsorship, advertising, licensing, merchandise, ticket sales, other marketing, and special event functions. So what are some policy areas faced by the Olympics? First of all, choosing a host city. We've talked about the bid process before. Rising costs, the sponsorships cost more than media rights, as well as provide more. There's new Olympic sports, and there's politics. So the key issues to finding a host city is how will the decision be made? There's always been a lot of talk about possible bribery happening of IOC members in order to get the bid. What criteria were used and what timeline, you need to make sure that you document that because it gives you a sense of objectivity, and this we want to be objective. Okay, the commercialization of the Olympics has come under firepower and the influence of sponsors. Should there be government funding? What do you think? New Olympic sports, it's kind of based on spectator interest. You want to add things that people are enjoy and might want to participate themselves in, not necessarily at the Olympics, of course. The number of competitors and the number of sports, the maximum number of sports was 41 in the summer and 15 in the Winter Olympics. So how can the IOC balance the interests of the Olympic competition and its mandate to provide opportunities for nations all around the world? Politics, there's some key issues, political motives, boycotts. We talked about the 1980 and the 1984 Olympics. Policy definitions for dealing with political ramifications of the Games. Don't forget you've got a video to watch for this of what happened in Munich in 1972. Make sure you watch that and answer the questions associated with it. So finally, considering how much money and time are involved in putting together a host city bid and then hosting the games themselves, do you think the effort is ultimately worth it for a city? Why or why not? Think about that.